Yo, in today's video, I will talk at a high level about the underlying issue that is biasing how nutrition is perceived in industrialized nations, if not the entire world. Our connection with food is by far one of the most intimate relationships we could ever have in this world. The food we consume literally becomes a part of our bodies. And admittedly, this is a romanticized account, but the role that nutrition plays in our momentary emotions and in our long-term well-being is heavily understated and honestly mind-blowing. So let's talk about mood. Recent research has revealed links between recurrent low blood sugar or hypoglycemia and increased anxiety and irritability. Chronic patterns of this have even tied to mood disorders. Consuming whole or unprocessed foods, which have lower glycemic load metrics, can result in slower digestion and better regulation of blood sugar, leading to significant improvements in mood. And now let's look at long-term well-being. Migration studies across the board consistently demonstrate that an individual's risk profile for disease aligns with the location they're moving to rather than where they have moved from. And this correlation is highly correlated to changes in lifestyle and dietary habits as opposed to genetics, which is most often the boogeyman for chronic illness. This is not to say that genetics is not a cause. It is a very important cause, but its role is heavily overstated in today's day and age. For instance, a study comparing lifestyle factors and coronary heart disease between migrant Gujarati populations in Britain and non-migrant populations in India showed a significant increase in established and emerging risk factors of heart disease among British population. This was associated with the higher fat intake in the diets of those who had immigrated and the affiliated obesity that was attached with it. Nutrition is obviously important, but having a strong understanding of nutrition and much less being able to make healthy decisions is difficult due to the severe lack of regulation and abundance of noise in the nutrition space. The foundational piece of information to start from is that natural market forces that govern how society works don't necessarily work for our well-being. We live in a global capitalist economy that revolves around cash flow. This is to the extent where resources are efficiently pooled into solving problems where cash flows most effectively. Despite this optimization, our society is much more stressed, busy, and unhappy than ever before, as indicated by this 2022 Gallup poll. One after effect is that we are left seeking convenience, comfort, and sometimes beauty from our food. The food economy is a well-oiled machine as well. It is configured to supply easily accessible and heavily dopamine-inducing foods that reinforce dangerous long-term neural connections that underlie our eating habits and, by extension, our lifestyle and emotions. While the advancements in food production offer pleasurable sustenance at low cost and high convenience, they are often supported by questionable research or neglect to properly consider the long-term consequences. Some concerning developments associated with these advancements include ultra-processed foods, food additives, supplements, and abundance of saturated and trans fats, and inadequate monitoring of added fats. And I want to mention, there's no intuitive bad guys here. While the institutions with financial power are not inherently predatory, they do control the narrative. This influences everything that we are exposed to, including marketing, cultural trends, and even education. Of particular concern is the impact that these institutions have on vital checks and balances that we rely on for ground truth, such as research, education, and government. It often reaches the point where even the most easily accessible information stream that we rely on, regardless of its source, ultimately comes from the same place, which is from the institutions that have money.
Exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I firmly believe that the current state of affairs warrant that we routinely pause and reflect on the assumptions that we are making about the foods that we put in our bodies and make sure that these expectations are grounded in reality. And this concludes my high-level thoughts on the biases that affect how nutrition is perceived in today's day and age. Please look forward to additional videos where I will dive deeper into how checks and balances such as research institutions, educational facilities, and even the government are affected. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.